Thank you for staying with us. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on the front page of Nigerian newspapers. And I begin with the Vanguard newspaper. The major story here: textile industry face total collapse as revival efforts fail. That's the bold story there, with pictures of machines in textile industry. And let's quickly move to another story. Labour to governors on minimum wage rescue Nigeria from state of resentment, misery. That's what you find here. Civil servants collecting salaries after relocating abroad must refund money. That's what the federal government is saying. Another story here: Dangote accuses IOCs of plotting failure of its refinery. Some of the stories you find on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. We'll move now to the front page of the Daily Trust. Headers reject Senate's bill on ranching. It's ill-conceived, Mark Ban is saying. Livestock Ministry best solution. That's the story you find there. Another story here: bandits kill 9, abduct 50 in Katsina State. And another story at the top corner: Plateau bans churches, mosques from blocking roads. Tinubu orders sanction of workers taking salaries after relocating abroad. Some stories you find on the front page of the Daily Trust. To the Daily Times now. 50 lawmakers write Tinubu seek Nnamdi Kanu's release. Say IPOB leaders' release will aid restoration of peace in Southeast. Kanu's freedom will enhance Tinubu administration's legacy as one that prioritizes national unity, peace, and progress. These leaders are quoted as saying. And another story here: gold program, Tinubu hails $5 million boost to foreign reserves as major milestone in renewed hope agenda. And at the downstrip, you have the story talking about NDLEA boss snake-guarded shrine used to store illicit drugs. Arrests 2 in Edo. That story might interest you. Now, ASU strike. NANS appeals to lecturers, federal government to shift grounds. Those are some of the stories you find on the front page of the Daily Times. To the Nation newspaper now. IOC's frustrating rollout of petrol, says Dangote refinery. The Rider There firm accuses government agency of aiding indiscriminate importation. And at the top corner, Kanu government serves Bayero eviction notice from Nasarawa Palace. Governor raises doubts over spending of 90 billion naira Hajj subsidy. All right. Why or your government delayed approval of Olakunle's choice as 43rd Olubadan? Those are some stories you find on the front page of the Nation newspaper. We'll move to the Punch newspaper now, still talking about crude price hike. Dangote alleges IOC's frustrating refinery. He accuses NMDPRA of granting licenses to operators to import dirty fuel. And federal government to punish supervisors approving salaries for JACPA workers. And another story here: Christ Embassy, Lagos Mall's demolition, Oyakilome promises bigger church. Cholera outbreak, 22 states get kits as Lagos case hits 500. Nigerians borrow 3.9 trillion naira as economic crisis bites harder. Now, food price hike worry operators amid 1.2 trillion naira agric budget. Some stories you find on the front page of a Punch newspaper. To the Daily News Hub now. IOC is plotting to cripple our operations. Dangote refinery cries out. Accuses NMDPRA of complicity in importation of dirty diesel jet fuel. And suspected cultist gunned down top banker in Edo. A sad story there. And Yoruba Party to field candidates in UK election. That's an interesting development. All right, we move now to the Inquirer. And the major story there: Abuja murders leave residents in panic. Army general, journalist, DJ are the victims. Police assure of all-round security. And at the top corner, food crisis, Abuja residents demand urgent government action. Food inflation rises by 2.59% in the FCT. To the front page of the Nigerian News Direct now. War against cholera, vaccine shortages, poor hygiene worsen epidemic in Nigeria. Experts warn of looming public health emergency, call for improved hygiene practices. As street food vendors put consumers at risk. Lassa fever, diagnosis and prompt treatment essential, WHO is saying. And another story here. We have achieved 100% local production of SIM cards. That's what the NCC is saying. Nigeria makes $5 million revenue from gold sales. Alaki. All right. Some of the stories you find on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. To the leadership newspaper, cost of living. CSOs, experts demand pay rise for soldiers. National Assembly may intervene, says Senate spokesperson. Federal government already working on it, defense headquarters. And the infographic there talking about 52,000 to 57,000 salaries of some soldiers and how soldiers engage in trade to survive, soldiers forced into corruption, soldiers forced into exploitation as a result of their take-home pay. You might want to pick up the leadership newspaper for more details on that story. But quickly, before we leave the leadership newspaper now, Northern Elders Law 2025 timetable for gas pipeline project. And another story there, bandits display 600 villagers, seize farmlands in Niger State. Some stories on the front page of the leadership newspaper. And to this Nigerian newspaper now, the major story there, Nigeria's foreign reserve assets receive $5 million boost from gold bars transaction. And Army destroys 14 oil bunkering boats in Abia. Extortion at the airport, solution in sight to deal with agencies involved, says Kiamos. Those are some of the stories you find on the front page of this Nigeria. Olamide.
I'll begin here with the Blueprint newspaper. Commercial gold boosts Nigeria's foreign reserves by $5 million injects 6 billion naira into economy. Alake presents gold bars to President Tinubu. Releasing Nnamdi Kanu to achieve national healing. 50 reps beg President Tinubu. And Kanu court ruling of emirship tussle unambiguous. Coalition is saying that on page 9 of the Blueprint. SCF hails President Tinubu's commitment to AKK gas pipeline project. The federal government issues flood alert to 15 states. The story is making the front page of Blueprint. To the Daily Independent, CBN year-end 21.4% inflation mark unrealistic. May hit 40%, according to experts. Say skyrocketing flood inflation may crash economy soon. Ask fiscal authority to be proactive over high food prices. President Tinubu seeks refund from a civil servant drawing salaries after relocating abroad. Reps Write Tinubu demand release of Nnamdi Kanu. NNPC is set to deliver gas revolution with OB3 gas pipeline project. And the federal government says the national gold purchase program boosting reserves naira value. The big story here says Zamfara moves to swell number of non-viable airports in Nigeria. State governments building beyond their capacity. Analysts. And on the rivers crisis, ex-local government chairman embattled lawmakers planning mayhem, Algon wants. The story is making the front page of Daily Independent. To the Guardian, CBN stress test FX market reform stops BDC funding. The writer there says Apex Bank trades quick fixes for long-term confidence building. Lack of clarity in new guidelines fueling fresh panic. An iron edge ahead of summer activities. MPC commits to 21.4% long-term inflation targets. Algon Norgay Beaker over police occupation of Rivers Council secretariats. Price of rice soars by over 180% in 12 months. Beans hit 219%. Labour Party insists on Peter Obi as 2027 presidential candidate. The National Assembly under pressure on new minimum wage law compliance. And on the cholera outbreak, APC chieftain warns governors against diversion of 260 billion naira fund. Bandits kill ex-general, 7 others in FCT, Katsina. The story is making the front page of The Guardian. To the New Telegraph, bank customers lament frivolous deductions, sharp practices, as experts say Nigerian financial system worrisome. It is not done in sinner climes, says ex-CBN manager. On the minimum wage, NLC kicks against decentralization of negotiations as a threat over President Tinubu's removing institution from IPPIS. President Tinubu's proposed 400 borehole projects preferable. Obi says it's against the presidential jet. And northern lawmakers, others demand Nnamdi Kanu's release. The story is making the front page of New Telegraph. To the Platform Times, 100% of SIM cards used in Nigeria locally manufactured, according to the NCC. 24 Nigerian girls subjected to sexual violence rescued in Senegal. Oyo health workers begin 7-day strike today. And a lawyer detained by DSS for 3 years for terrorism regains freedom. On the 2027 election, no plans to dump Peter Obi, according to the Labour Party. Nigerians will see visible results of President Tinubu's effort in 12 months. 1,301 dead during Hajj, mostly unregistered pilgrims, says Saudi Arabia. NLC kicks against the decentralization of minimum wage negotiations. The story is making the front page of Platform Times. To the Salient Times, NLC kicks against calls to decentralize negotiations. Gunmen kill priests, 6 police officers in attacks on synagogue church in Russia. Scrap Naka now. Niger government tells federal government accuses agency of mismanagement of 90 billion naira Hajj subsidy. Says 90 billion naira would have helped in running affairs of the UBEC for 4 years. You are wrong. 2024 Hajj, a great success. Nakat Kapet, Governor Bago, describes the Hajj as a failure. 50 reps write President Tinubu demand release of Nnamdi Kanu. The story is making the front page of Salient Times. To the national economy, Labour's 250,000 naira demand unsettles federal government, states, private sectors. Fiscal realities will make demand unrealistic, experts say. Climate change challenges and Nigeria's push to develop hydroelectricity. That's a feature story on page 19 of a national economy. A federal government seeks extension for World Bank's $800 million palliative loan. The story is making the front page of a national economy. So the Nature News paper, Governor 2 bans logging in Cross River State, orders arrest of culprits. AFDP supports Morocco's water forest management with 84 million euros. President Tinubu receives gold bar as Alake adds $5 trillion to Nigerians, $5 million to Nigerians' foreign reserves. Nigeria, Algeria, Libya in top 10 global gas flaring, according to the World Bank. The story is making the front page of Nature News. And finally, in sports, NFF president seeks spiritual help, begs Islamic ulamas to pray for Eagles, says no going back on new foreign coach. Osimhen visits Igalo after online rant on Finidi. Mourinho wants to keep Osai Samuel. That's on page 6 of Sporting Life. Liverpool make contact over Rabiot's move, and Man United leading race with 34 million euros Zexi. The story is making the front page of Sporting Life. Veronica.
All right. I believe that our viewers have been updated with details out of the newspaper headlines this morning, so you can pick any of the papers that interests you.